Hello everyone and welcome to Paul Ricard. This is round 4 of the second Multiclass Endurance Series from SimRacingOnline. I'm going to be your commentator and streamer today, Caitlin Penny, and alongside me today is Mac Shepherd. So Mac, how are you doing? It's been 2 weeks.
I am absolutely boiling in this room. There's no air conditioning. It's about 23, 24 degrees outside, which for Scotland is a little bit too hot. But yeah, Paul Ricard, not my favourite track, but it should be interesting. Not too many LMP2 cars turned up today though, so we'll see how that goes.
I just managed to accidentally interrupt you with the stream. I'm really sorry about that to everyone listening. Well, we had to get our one mandatory technical issue out of the way before before we got going. Luckily, you'll notice today that the stream is going to be a lot less juddery and a lot less. And as I say that, I get a couple of whoa, that's not good. Okay, well, it's going to be less juddery than before because I've altered some of the settings. It tends to lag a little bit like this when I've just loaded in, but it should sort itself out by the end of qualifying and by the start of the race. So we're going to get a much nicer, much cleaner stream today. And actually, let me go back to that previous camera view because that was less juddery. So there we go. That's a lot better. In fact, let's ride on board now with Paulo Lima so we can get a good view of this Paul Ricard circuit. It's not a popular track. People complain about it having masses of runoff area, massive ugly runoff area in fact, because of course the blue and red stripes do tend to mess with the driver's perception a little bit, and I found that a little bit when I was driving the track myself. But in terms of the actual layout of it, it has quite a lot of sectors that drivers tend to like. For example, if you watch us going down here towards the first chicane, it's a very fast uphill left-right chicane. I personally find that a lot of fun. Then it's over the crest into a braking zone, right hand, left hand down the hill. We're approaching some GTE traffic right now, but we should meet that on the straight, so we should be able to get round that all right. Paulo Lima just heading up through the back end of the circuit, through the slight kink to the left, and onto the Mistral straight. We're using the full layout of the straight today, no chicane midway through, meaning that there's going to be a lot of slipstreaming going on, and the cars are going to reach extreme heights in terms of speed. Watch the speedometer in the bottom left. We're about to reach 200 miles per hour. Come on, reach it, reach it, reach it, reach it, reach it. We didn't reach 200 miles per hour, but we so nearly did. 199 miles per hour was the top speed for Paulo Lima there. Very, very good. And now it's a double right-hander at the Double Droit de Bozet, one of my favourite corner names in all of racing. Absolutely love it. And then through the left-hander, you have to clip the apex very, very late there in order to get the best exit. Whoa, as I cause everything to temporarily freeze. Sorry, that was my fault. I clicked the wrong button. And now we head towards the Virage de la Pont, the final corner. It's 90 degrees, over 90 degrees to the right, technically an acute angle. And then you get catapulted out and over the start-finish line to end the lap. That camera view doesn't appear to be working, the outside view, so I'm just going to run. Actually, if I look for... Okay, sorry, that's a little bit unprofessional of me, but anyway, we're going to hang a little bit behind the cars for now. Currently top of the time, Stefano Zonda going to first position in the LMP2 car. Yeah, let's have a look at who's leading our other classes. We've got Steve Alden third in LMP2, followed by Tony Talviti, currently leading LMP3, although we're still just under 20 minutes left in the session. And Cahill Graf, our leading GTE car as it stands. You have to look a long way back for a second LMP2 car yet. In fact, have we got a second LMP3 car, sorry, as Roberto Bali still hasn't set a lap. In fact, it's Eric Moine, who I don't think has set his first lap yet. So, still waiting for LMP3 runners to set laps. Let's watch Moine, in fact, as he comes through the last couple of corners of the lap to complete this time round. Sorry you haven't been able to get a word in edgeways, Mac, but yeah, just have a look at the different cars that are racing around this Paul Ricard circuit as it stands. Who do you think we should look out for, and what do you think the main themes are going to be as we approach the race?
Well, I don't think we've got many LMP2s here today. I think we've only got 3, as you were saying earlier.
We have 4.
4, okay, so not too many. So I don't think it's going to be a massive race between them. It's a bit of a longer circuit compared to Dijon last time, so I think it's going to be a cleaner race than last time in general. So should be a bit calmer, I think.
Good shout, good shout. It is definitely a much longer track than Dijon. In fact, if we were using the full layout of this track, it would be one of the longest Grand Prix circuits. Of course, we're bypassing the chicane, so that cuts a little bit of time out of the lap, but it's still a very, very long circuit. I did have the stats up for you, but unfortunately everything on my computer is lagging. I don't think it likes streaming anymore, which isn't good, but whatever the case. And finally it's letting me get rid of pages that I don't need. That's okay. Well, it's good that it's doing it now, but I wish it would be a little bit more cooperative than this. But yeah, whatever the case, that is a good shout. Hello to Bill Grucock, who says evening all in the YouTube stream. Good evening to you as well, Bill. It's good to see you joining us, and I'm looking forward to the second series of the 1967 F1 League that we do on Assetto Corsa, which will be coming up just at the start of next month. I think you're going to be signing up for that, and if you haven't signed up for it yet, then just a reminder that it's going to take place, and I'd love to see you there, as you were last series. But yeah, if you are watching along with us in the YouTube chat today, this is a call to everyone, then definitely leave us a comment, and I will be reading out as many as I can as we go through the course of this race, and we'll see just how active we can get it. As oh, sorry, I haven't been very active with the cameras there. Let's see if we can find someone on a lap. Steve Alden looks as if he's just setting up for one. Either that or he's just completing one. No, he's coming into the pits. Let's focus on our GTE runners. If I just go a little bit further up the GTE field. Currently leading that is Cahill Graf, but let's watch Michal Mazurek, currently second in his Corvette. I've been a little bit told off in the past for not showing the GTE runners enough, and GTE is actually our most competitive class here today. So, yeah, GTE, we're very glad to have them with us. I don't know why that camera view is still juddering so much. I'm really sorry about that, but whatever the case, GTE, our most competitive field, and with some of the best drivers as well. I've raced Mazurek myself in the past, and we had a fantastic race in some classic Formula 3 cars back at Spielberg last year, and that was probably the best race that I've ever had in my life. So yeah, Mazurek, a good rival of mine, and a very, very quick, very ferocious racer as well. Cahill Graf, the quickest GT runner as of yet, actually ahead of some of our LMP3 runners. So that shows you just how competitive the field of GTE runners is. And we have also a bunch of familiar faces, people who have been with SimRacingOnline for a long time, including Nigel and Carl Middleton, who have been some real regulars in this league, and also some other top runners as well. So Mac, you've raced in SimRacingOnline in the past, in both Assetto Corsa and rFactor, if I remember correctly. Who would you say out of these runners have you had the best real battles with? Who's been your closest rival?
There's only a few I recognise from here that I've actually raced. I recognise Mazurek. He raced in the Formula 2?
Formula
series?
3, yeah, 1966 Formula 3.
I only did one race of that, but he was really fast, really consistent, and I had a decent battle with him. I've not actually raced with anyone else, I don't think. There might be a few people from the 67 series I've raced with, but I can't recognise their names from here. No.
I'd have beaten Mazurek in that race if I hadn't gone off at the final corner. But anyway, whatever the case, more people joining us in the YouTube chat. That's always good to see. Eric Klein says, good luck to our runners, hope to come back next year. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you back in the future, Eric. And he also says, good job on the broadcast, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Eric. I'm sorry about the poor quality, and I'm sorry about the fact that the external camera doesn't appear to be working properly. But yeah, thank you very much for the compliment. And Bill Grugok says, yes, Caitlin, not long until F1 67. Yeah, definitely join us back from that. It's a great mod, and one that, to be honest, I wish I was racing. I may well race in the future if I'm not still commentating that league. But yeah, whatever the case, that's going to be a good one. But for now, we're still here at Paul Ricard for the Multiclass Endurance Series. Roberto Bali has just set his first flying lap in the 4th LMP2 car and goes 4th. Now, the interesting thing with Bali is, well, he hasn't been fighting for wins. Oh, and he goes off. Well, he hasn't been fighting for wins yet this year. He has turned up for every race. In fact, he's the only LMP2 runner who has turned up to every race so far, and providing Didier Colo doesn't turn up in the remaining 12 minutes of qualifying before the start of the race, Roberto Bali, despite the fact he hasn't been able to challenge for wins, will be guaranteed to lead the LMP2 Drivers' Championship going away from this round. So due to pure consistency and just simply finishing every race and turning up for every race, Roberto Bali looks as if he's going to be in the prime seat for being crowned champion of the Multiclass Endurance Series. And well, you could say it's been gifted to him, but still, it's great to see that he has the commitment to turn up to every round, and we love seeing that, and we love seeing just as many drivers in as many classes as we can, just lapping the circuit. So yeah, good to see Roberto Bali out there and giving it a go, even if he's not as quick as the other 3 LMP2 runners on track. And we're currently watching Paulo Lima as he attempts to improve his time and go for pole position in class.
I believe Bali has won one race.
Not this season.
Really?
No, sorry, not this season. Or at least not the... Okay, let me check the stats.
I'm looking at the standings. It says 1 win, 1 pole, 3 podiums. So
heck, okay, I've got that wrong. I'm so sorry. He actually has
turned up to every event, but he does have a win. He does have a pole position, and he has finished on the podium every race.
I was getting him confused with Didier Colo. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Roberto Bali indeed has finished on the podium at all 3 races so far. Is leading the championship. I'm so sorry. Yeah, he has got a win. That came at the first round at Watkins Glen. The second round was won by Pablo Finotti, who has only made 2 of our first 4 rounds. And the third one was actually won by Dimitri Buksha. Of course, we had Andre Borges crossing the line first, but he was disqualified in the end for cutting the track limits too many times. In terms of the LMP3 class, we've had 2 wins so far from John Vandegeest, putting him at the head of the order, followed by Tony Talviti. Let me just find them. Talviti currently leading our LMP3 class. Where's Vandegeest? Has he actually set a lap yet? I saw Vandegeest on the server yet, but I don't think... In fact, he's not there. Wow, okay, well hopefully we get Vandegeest back, because...
He's trying to join the session right now.
Okay, well, that's a massive shame, because if we can't get our LMP3 championship leader in before the start of the race, he may well have to start from the back, and if he doesn't, he may well not be starting the race at all, which would be a big shame. In his title fight between him and Tony Talviti, they had a cracking race at Watkins Glen at the start of this series. And then in our GTE runners, so far, the wins have been taken. Let me just find the stats. We've had 2 from Henri Miettinen and 1 from K.L. Graf, although neither of them have made all 3 races, meaning the championship leader in that class is currently Carl Middleton in the Porsche. So Carl Middleton, currently our GTE class winner, and looking for his first GTE class win today to back that up. He's currently second in class, but he has a big BMW in front of him in the hands of K.L. Graf to get through before he can claim that first victory of the season.
And as you were saying earlier, the times between the LMP3 cars and GTEs are very similar. Just in qualifying, it's only like 2 or 3 tenths between them, which is interesting.
And that's because of the long straight, the Mistral. Of course, the LMP3 cars are much faster through the corners than the GTEs, but in a straight line, you'll witness down the Mistral, the GTEs are actually slightly quicker in terms of straight line speed, and that is because they don't have the aerodynamic drag that the GTE cars have, and therefore they are able to reach a higher top speed of just over 200 miles per hour down the Mistral. And because that straight is so long on this circuit, it means that they get a mega run, and sometimes they can even set laps quicker than LMP3 cars. I still think the LMP3s will be marginally quicker, but trust me, it won't be over 2 seconds, the gap between the leading LMP3 and the leading GTE in qualifying, and that means it's going to make it very hard for the LMP2 cars, because the LMP2 cars are much faster than the GTEs and the LMP3s, and that means they're going to find them in a massive clump of 2 classes in one. So it's going to be tricky for the LMP2s, and I expect it's also going to be tricky for the LMP3s, because I wouldn't be surprised to see GTEs getting ahead of them at the start and then holding them up as the session goes on, or possibly even vice versa. We're currently watching Stefano Zonda, who's top of the times as it stands. Let's ride on board again as he finds himself stuck behind a GTE car. That's Michal Mazurek, currently the GTE second place runner. And the interesting thing about that, of course, is that GTE cars are not obliged to move out of the way of faster runners, and that, of course, is because of the rules of endurance racing. You're not obliged to get out of the way of quicker cars. It's their responsibility to find a clean route around you, and that's what has caught a couple of people out in the series so far. It's a tricky thing to learn, especially if you come from sprint racing or Grand Prix racing, because in sprint racing and Grand Prix racing, of course, you are obliged to get out of the way of cars behind you if you see the blue flags. In this series, all the blue flags mean is that there's a quicker car behind you attempting to make an overtake. So there's a difference there, and it means that especially in qualifying, if you come up behind a GTE car and you're not on a straight or in a good place in terms of braking zones or anything like that, I'm afraid your lap's screwed.
I think I've noticed about Paul Ricard as well, it's a conventional track, but at the same time it's not got very conventional corners. You can take different lines, unlike Dijon, which was the last race, where there was basically one line through each corner. You can take different lines and get past in different ways, sort of. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it should be a bit easier, I think, for the faster cars to get past the GTs and the LMP3s today.
Eric Klein says, need more practice with rFactor 2. I was way off the pace, but I'll be back next season and hope to be competitive. Indeed. Just get some practice in, and we will look forward to seeing you next season. I don't think you were massively off the pace. You know, Eric, not our fastest driver, but wasn't exactly getting in the way. So, yeah, it's a shame to see you not in the series, and we look forward to seeing you back in the future, as I've said. Bill Grucock says, good to see that the stream is much smoother than last time. Well done on sorting that out, thank you. I found that disabling replays helped, and also changing the camera view helped. I found that onboard cameras and close hang-around cameras are much smoother than the TV cameras. So I know I'm using unusual cameras for this round, but that is in the interest of a smooth stream. And Eric Klein agrees with that, so that's good to see. Yeah, back to the circuit. One thing I do like about it, and one thing that I do think saves it from being a completely boring circuit, like some people say it is the fact that there is a bit of elevation change through it. Especially in the first sector, you go up the hill through that fast left and right, and through fast corners like that with high curbs. Just going up the hill literally adds another dimension to it, and it means that it makes it slightly, I think, slightly more fun. The car just grips better through that uphill sector due to the slope of the terrain, and that's fantastic. It's fantastic to drive. Meanwhile, Jens Roos has taken second in GTE. But if you look as well, you'll notice that it also goes downhill. If you watch that in the first sector, let's see if I can find someone just approaching the place where I'm talking about. Well, you've just seen that Zach Bremner's just been through that area there, but basically there's a left-right-left chicane in the first sector where you really do disappear over the crest of the hill, and that can often unsettle the cars, especially due to the curbing in that area. So yeah, that's something that you have to be careful of. And that first sector in particular is a sector of track that I, for one, enjoy, actually.
Yeah, we're using the faster chicane, I believe, than the F1 layout that they use, so it's a lot more fast and flowing, which is actually a lot better, I think.
Apologies if you heard my dog there in the background. I did tell my my family to try to keep the doorbell quiet, but obviously that hasn't worked. Never mind. Back to the race. Carl Middleton about to complete another lap, and can he get himself back ahead of Jens Roos, who's just been demoted by? He crosses the line, and it's no quicker for Carl Middleton, so still behind Jens Roos, and the drivers don't have that much longer to set laps. The timer is ticking to a close, and that means that they have to, well, they can't afford too many more mistakes. It's pretty much now or never. Then again, of course, this is only qualifying, and there's an extremely long race, 100 minutes coming up for us to get through. And that means that qualifying, while it does help, is certainly not everything. I can imagine it meaning more in, let's say, GTE than it does in the prototype classes, but still, you want to qualify as far up as you can, and it's, you know, that's always going to help.
It might not even be like the best thing to qualify in pole, given the length of that Mistral straight.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, I'd still go for pole. I do think it is a benefit, but definitely, especially on the opening lap, you may well see cars, because they're all so bunched up, just bunching together and using each other's slipstream to swap places on the Mistral. I'd be very surprised if we don't see at least a bit of that on the opening lap of the race. Meanwhile, the session timer is ticking to a complete close. We're about to see the timer go to 0 in 50 seconds. That means the drivers absolutely have to deliver now. Carl Middleton coming out of the final corner to put in another lap. His last lap wasn't an improvement. Is this lap, as he crosses the line? No, he still stays 9th, so no change for Carl Middleton. Michal Majerek will be disappointed so far with 10th position due to his previous qualifying results in the series, so he will be almost desperate to improve on this lap to prove himself, and he's just gone down that downhill chicane that I was describing just now. I'm just trying to find a map of all of the corner names, actually, because for some reason I can't read them on my phone, which is disappointing, but whatever the case, we continue to watch. Oh, there we go. Got a good one up there. We continue to watch Michal Majerek as he drags his way down the Mistral. The timer is now at 0. We have the checkered flag at the ready, and Majerek is coming through the last couple of corners now. He's just got the Double Droit de Beauzet to the right, which I'm going to say that corner name every single time someone goes round it. I just love saying Double Droit de Beauzet. It rolls off the tongue. It's just France in its at its peak. Fantastically named corner. There's Bendor to the left, and then Village to the right, before we head into Tours to the left, and then the Virage du Pont, which is the almost hairpin final corner. It doesn't feel like a hairpin to drive, but it technically is one, as it's a sharp, acute angle with a heavy braking zone. Michal Majerek crosses the start-finish line. Does he improve his position? He does! Oh my goodness! In fact, he takes GTE pole position on the last time of asking and actually beats Eric Moine, who was second in LMP3. A brilliant lap for Michal Majerek to take pole position in the GTE class at the last minute. What can Paulo Lima do as he exits the final corner? Can he take LMP2 pole? Across the line he goes. Roberto Bali holds it for now, and Paulo Lima is not quick enough, so Bali takes LMP2 pole, and Tony Talviti has taken LMP3 pole, as I don't see any LMP3 cars going any quicker. In fact, I think all cars have now set their final laps, meaning if we look at the order, Stefano Zander is going to take pole position overall in the LMP2 Orica, followed, oh, the session's ticking over, so I can't switch between cars just yet, but he will be followed by the second place car, who we just watched crossing the line, and I've already forgotten the name of, but whatever the case, I will get that to you in just a second. Ooh, it's like a rush of adrenaline to my face. Mac, fantastic lap from Michal Majerek in the end, and it just proved that there really isn't that much between LMP3 and GTE.
Yeah, he's only one place behind Tony Talviti, who's in LMP3, and I think there's 2 or 3 other LMP3 cars he just beat. So, yeah, really good lap, pulling out right at the end when obviously the track rubber and track grip's at its very best. So, yeah, very good lap.
And I think I was right in saying that there was less than 2 seconds between them. My session's really struggling to take over, but it now has done, I think. Although I can't yet. Oh, there we go. I now finally have control over what I'm doing. The server is still frozen for me, but whatever the case, it's going to be Stefano Zander leading us away from pole position, followed by Paulo Lima second in LMP2, and then Roberto Bali third. We've lost an LMP2 runner, because we did have 4, and we now only have 3. So who have we lost? I'm actually not sure. But whatever the case, only 3 LMP2 runners. And then, of course, we have Tony Talviti, pole position in LMP3. Apologise for the weird lighting. That's going to sort itself out for the race. Michal Majerek, pole position in GTE. Eric Moine, second in LMP3. KL Graf, second in GTE. Jens Vroos, third in GTE. Then we have Carl Middleton, GTE Championship leader. Jerry Chen, Zach Bremner, Tana Selvi making his debut in the league. Excuse me. Andrew Williams, third place. 13th. Oh my word, hiccups. 13th place overall. Neil Tasker, 14th. Then we have Ollie Bateson, Johnny Gutierrez, Nigel Middleton, Andre Depie, Norman Bruce, and then John Vandergeest, who has made it in but didn't manage to set a lap. He is third in LMP3 and our LMP3 championship leader. And then Vladislav Pavlov, who didn't set a lap in qualifying, and neither did Alexander Fedotov. So that's everyone, and that is how they're going to line up for the start of this 4th race of the second series of the Gear Multiclass Endurance Series.
I believe we lost Steve Olden from the LMP2 class.
That sounds about right.
But I'm just checking the event list, and he is the only LMP2 that left, so...
Well, hopefully Olden will make it back in time for the start of the race, because he was due to start 3rd in class. But anyway, even if he doesn't, it only takes 2 cars to make a race, and we have at least 3 LMP2 cars. So we still have a race in our hands, if not a very well-attended one. Really, I can imagine the main action today coming from GTE. Although we're currently watching Tony Talviti show us exactly how to do it. Talviti, of course, was last year's LMP2 champion, and now he's taking on a new challenge in the LMP3 class, and very nearly spins, but manages to save it as he heads into the pit lane. But yeah, Tony Talviti, I'd argue the most naturally talented driver on this grid from what I've seen of any class, and showing us exactly how you drive this Paul Ricard circuit, as we have just 1.5 minutes to wait now until the checkered flag finishes on this unofficial practice warm-up session, and then we start the 4th race of the SimRacingOnline Gear Multiclass Endurance Series 2.
And Alden is back in, so that's good. Now we're at LMP2 to have them race with.
Great to see, great to see. Of course, it only takes 2 to make a race, and it takes 3 to make a podium. But 4 cars, you know, it means that not everyone who finishes is going to get a podium, or at least not everyone who starts is going to get a podium. So that is a very decent number. I was saying to Mac before the race started, actually, I don't mind when there's 4 cars in the race. When there's 3, it's a little bit dodgy because you know that you're going to score a podium before the race even starts. And I'd hate to, you know, be awarded a podium statistically and not have to work for it. But whatever the case, 4 cars definitely make a decent race, and it's good to see that we have Alden back before the start.
Yep, definitely, and I don't think it's going to be very hard to DNF here, or it's going to be very hard to DNF here, sorry, because of the amount of runoff here is just insane, because it is a testing track. It's not really meant to be a racing track, and it's not as tight as Dijon was, so yeah, it should be very hard to DNF.
Well, it's a 100-minute race, so it's pretty tricky to keep your concentration. Of course, like, I'm not expecting any accidents, or at least no accidents with, for example, barriers, but oh my word, Zach Bremner cuts the final corner massively, but that doesn't matter because you know, this isn't an official session. It doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, whatever the case, I'm not really expecting any accidents with the barriers, but still, you can have drivers who maybe miscalculate their fuel mileage, or maybe double downshift into one of the heavy braking zones, or maybe just get too tired and give up. Oh, and I keep saying it's a 100-minute race. I'm getting that wrong. It's actually less than 90 minutes, and I say less than 90 minutes because the formation lap will actually count in terms of the timer. So the timer will be ticking down as they are away on the formation lap, unfortunately. Steve Alden, unfortunately, it looks as if he's going to be starting right from the back of the grid, despite the fact he qualified 3rd in class, and that's because he's taking a different livery going into this session. So a bit of a mistake there from Steve Alden. Now, what we've seen them doing in the past is we've seen them splitting into class order. So we've had LMP2s at the front, LMP3s behind them, and then GTEs at the back, no matter where they qualify, and that's actually why we've had the timer ticking down on the formation lap. So I'm not sure if they're going to do that again, considering just how far back some of the LMP3 and LMP2 runners are. It may be pretty dangerous to get them to the front of the grid, with other drivers warming their tyres and just getting ready for the start. But it looks as if that is what we're doing, as John Van der Geest is passing cars on the opening lap. So hopefully Didier Colo gets the Steve Alden gets the memo, and Denis Pimenov and Vladislav Pavlov do the same thing, and hopefully they can make their way up and through the order to the front, and hopefully no GTE cars get confused and think that the race is already underway, because that's definitely something I've seen happen in the past, not with this series but with other series. So to run you through the order again, it's Zonder at the front, followed by Lima and Bali. Then we have our LMP3 leader, Tony Salviti. Then we have Eric Moine, Mihan Majrek, our GTE leader, followed by Karl Graf, Jens Roos, Carl Middleton, Jerry Chen, Zach Bremner, Tanner Selvi. Look at John Van der Geest going through to meet the back of the LMP3 class. Then we have Tainer Selvi, Andrew Williams, Neil Tasker, Ollie Bateson, Johnny Gutierrez, Andre Depi, Nigel Middleton, Denis Pimenov, who will be going through to meet the front of the to meet the rear of the LMP3 field, Steve Alden, who will be doing the same thing with the LMP2 field, and then we have Norman Bruce, Vladislav Pavlov, who hopefully will make his way through the field, and then we should have a decisive starting order by the end of this lap, hopefully, although I would expect these drivers to be making their way through a little bit faster, especially on the Mistral.
Yeah, Alden is making his way to the front, but he's doing it very, very tentatively, so he needs to get a run-up before this race starts, because we're getting to the end of the lap now.
Yeah, come on, just do it, because otherwise you are going to have to overtake those slower class cars at the start of this race. He's actually still behind the leading GTEs, which is a little bit of an issue for that car. Yeah, hopefully we get a clean start. John van der Geest has caught up to the tail of the leading LMP3 cars, if that makes sense. Let's watch the very front of the order, sorry, as they get ready to start this 90-minute, or more accurately, 87-minute endurance race here at the circuit. Paul Ricard out of the Virage de la Pont, and let's see if Paulo Lima can get a jump on Stefano Zander as they head up towards the first chicane. Go, go, go at Paul Ricard, and it's going to be Stefano Zander who leads us towards turn 1. Paulo Lima is in second place, followed by Roberto Bali. Let's watch them as they head up towards the first braking zone, and it looks to me as if Lima is going to be slightly too far back. No, he's not, because Zander's made a mistake. Zander's off the road and manages to keep the place by cutting the corner. That's a little bit messy, but Zander continues to lead the race. Back in the LMP3 field, Talviti leads from Moine and Van der Geest. Steve Olden in the LMP2 field did not manage to pass them before the start of this race. Here come the GTE runners, Mazurek followed by Graf and Roos, and then Middleton right on their tail as well as they go through the first chicane of the track and towards the Mistral. This is where slipstream is going to come into effect, and this is where Steve Olden can put the hammer down and attempt to make his way through the LMP3 runners for the first time. Do we have any LMP2 runners going at it? No, we don't, but Lima definitely close, but not close enough to go through to the lead of the race. Here comes
Lima's
Olden.
just gone through on the inside.
Excuse me?
Lima's just gone through on the inside, and it's cut back with Zander. Zander's, they're going at it at the end of the lap.
They are going at it for the lead of the race, the overall lead in the LMP2 class. Stefano Zander came under attack after that mistake at the start of the lap. Lima definitely had a look, but it's still Zander who leads at the end of the first lap out of the Virage de la Pont, and Stefano Zander is going to lead the first lap, followed by Lima and Bali. Tony Talviti still leads the LMP3 class, and he's actually ahead of Steve Olden, the last place LMP2 runner. But Olden should be able to get past down the pit straight this time around. This should be done relatively easily. Let's see him. Here he goes with the inside to the inside, and Steve Olden with the slipstream takes 4th position overall off Tony Talviti. Now let's look back to the GTE runners. Mazurek leads from Graf and Roos after the first lap of the race. Mac, if you could keep an eye on the LMP2 leaders and alert me when they're getting close. I'll keep an eye on this fight for 3rd place in the GTE field as Carl Middleton takes a look to the inside of Jens Roos. Although that was speculative, he was just showing himself to the mirrors of the BMW up ahead of him, just in order to attempt to force a mistake, but hasn't ended up managing to get through. And you need to be much further alongside the car ahead into that chicane if you're going to attempt a proper dive bomb maneuver. Otherwise, you're just going to end up either not getting close enough or taking off the car in front. And Carl Middleton, too much of an experienced driver to do that, so he hangs back and keeps his 4th place as of yet. Jens Roos still in 3rd place as they approach Signa to the end of the Mistral Straight, still in the same order they entered it in.
I believe Lima has gone off the track somewhere because his timing has gone off, which means he's cut the track somewhere, and he has moved from 2nd to 3rd in LMP2, so something's happened there. I'm not sure what, but Bali's now in 2nd behind Zander.
I'm afraid we can't give you replays today due to the settings I've had to change to make the stream smoother, so we won't be able to tell what Lima did to lose that 2nd place. But indeed, our LMP2 championship leader Roberto Bali is up into 2nd position, winner at Watkins Glen, as he hunts down Stefano Zander, who is heading for 1st place in this race so far, although I've said that very, very early in the race. As we look back to the GTE runners, watch Carl Middleton now attempting a move to the outside of Jens Roos. In fact, he's all the way alongside him, and he actually drags his way around the outside of Jens Roos into turn 1 there. He was later on the brakes, and Roos knew that he had the line, and he had to give way. Carl Middleton through to 3rd in the GTE class. It was a well-executed move. Porsche beats BMW as of yet.
And I believe we've got a battle between Moine and Van der Geest in the LMP3 class brewing. They're only about the second and a half apart, so they're closing up. I believe they're some of the closest cars. It's only 1.5 seconds between Zanda and Bally in LMP2 as well, so quite close between them.
It's close up and down the field. The race, of course, only started a couple of minutes ago, so definitely still some action to be had. I want to keep an eye on the GTE field personally, because while Middleton did get ahead of Roos on that lap, the sheer grunt of the BMW has allowed it to stick right on the tail of the Porsche, although the Porsche very slippery through the air in a straight line. Of course, look at the aerodynamic streamlined shape of that Porsche. It's very reminiscent of a shark, in fact, if you put them next to each other. Quite rounded, but very long and sort of pencil shaped. That's what the Porsche is, although less so than the Cup car, as the Porsche GT3 has much wider wheel skirts and hubs, if you can call them that. Just a much larger frame to that car, which allows it to have just that extra aerodynamic downforce through the corners. It's a very fast GTE car, probably the most popular and most successful GTE car that there is. It's been raced in the World Endurance Championship, it's been raced in IMSA, it's been raced all over the place, and it continues to be raced hard here in the virtual world of the SimRacingOnline Multiclass Endurance Series.
Just looking at the YouTube chat, Eric Klein asked earlier, do you know if they're doing these cars again for next season, or if they're switching it up?
Well, we haven't had a season 3 confirmed. I would be surprised if we never did endurance racing, multi-class endurance racing again in the future, especially on rFactor 2, as it's very popular. You can see here we have a grid of 23. Admittedly, we've already lost Denis Pimenov, but yeah, we have a grid of 23. It's a very popular series, not just for the drivers, but for the spectators as well. Probably one of our most popular formats that we have. Meanwhile, Michal Majerek has got Cahill Graf on his tail, but I'll get back to that in a second. So yeah, we don't have a Season 3 confirmed as far as I know, but I would be surprised if we didn't get another series along these lines. We may not have LMP2, LMP3, GTE. In the past we just had LMP2 and GTE, but yeah, I'd say, yeah, sure, we're probably almost definitely going to have another series.
And Andrew Harper's saying, I remember the first time I drove on here, so many layouts, I got lost. I think a lot of people got lost first time they drove here, to be honest.
Paul Ricard holds the record for the most circuit layouts of all circuits in the world. 127 from memory. You can technically run 127 different versions of the track. Not all of them have been run, although I'm pretty sure all of them have been run in terms of testing mileage. So yeah, definitely a massively versatile track. It's a test track. Basically, you can set it up how you want it to, so you can test all sorts of different setups on the car, and that's what makes it such a successful test track. And it's good to see that it's recently returned to Grand Prix racing. Not many people like it. To be honest, I quite enjoyed the 2018 French Grand Prix, and I'm looking forward to the 2019 one. Yeah, I must say the track's, well, in my opinion, not the most aesthetically pleasing. It's certainly an acquired taste, and I know that most drivers don't like it in terms of the just how it is to drive and the tyre wear, etc. But to be honest, I do quite like the circuit. Not one of my favourites, but it's up there with the best.
It's definitely very different to every other modern track that we've seen recently.
Yeah, it's very different, and that's effectively because it's you know, it works best as a test track. Although definitely racing can take place here, and very well indeed. In terms of the GTE fight, KL Graf has been sticking with Majerek. He pulled in a couple of tenths of a second a couple of laps ago, which is why I was suddenly aware that he was on his tail again. But yeah, whatever the case, Majerek's still leading the class from Graf. That's definitely something I'm going to have to keep an eye on.
And Carl Middleton's actually closing him in at a very, very fast rate, about half a second to a secondary lap. So it's going to be a three-way battle very, very soon, I think.
Very different line through the chicane there takes Carl Middleton. I noticed he was faster on the second exit, whereas Cahill Graf kept it much tighter on the second apex. That is the left-hander, in order to set himself up for the right-hander. In all honesty, I'd have said that Cahill had the better run there, especially the better run out of the chicane, and I'd say the better line. Although, of course, I have no proof of that.
Just diverting your attention to the LMP2, it's just half a second between Bally and Zonda now. They're getting into traffic, and that's held up Zanda quite a lot. So we may be seeing a move for first here, Bally in the slipstream as we head down to the fast right-hander. Bally going to go to the outside of the fast right-hander. Is he going to try around the outside? Yes, he does, and he makes the move stick at the right-hander. Great move there.
That was a fantastic move from Roberto Bally, showing us exactly why he's the championship leader. He won at Watkins Glen, and he's on his way to win again, unless Zander or possibly Bally can get Lima, sorry, can get back at him. But whatever the case, Roberto Bally, great move around the outside of Signa at the end of the Mistral, and yeah, it seemed that Zander could do pretty much nothing about that. Traffic does tend to shake the race up a little bit. They're actually just about to lap. I think that's... Oh, it's not the lead fight for GTE, but it is definitely a four-way GTE scrap. And need to get past them cleanly. Bally goes to the inside, runs massively over the curb, actually cuts the corner. And he needs to be careful of that because someone got disqualified for doing that too many times last time out. So he needs to make sure he doesn't do that too many times. Meanwhile, Paulo Lima has taken second place from Stefano Zander.
This is getting a little bit hairy with the GTs getting the weight of the LMP2s. Bally's slipping further back. And Lima actually might have a run on him here.
Yeah, that was close, and they both get caught out. They both get caught out behind Williams, and I think Gutierrez on the exit there, and Lima in the slipstream of Bally. They both ran off the road to avoid the GTE cars, and over the curb, losing all kinds of momentum. And Lima looks to go from third to first in the space of a lap. Lima to the inside of Signa, and makes the move stick, but touches him. He moves over in the braking zone as if Bally wasn't there. And he knew he was alongside him, and yet still managed to touch Bally. If I was Bally, I'd be pretty annoyed at that one. Whatever the case, Lima, with contact, makes the move stick, and around goes Bally. Oh no! Bally, who was leading the race a lap ago, not even a lap ago, half a lap ago, spins the car around and drops to third place in LMP2 class. And due to everything that we just witnessed, he will probably be pretty frustrated at all of that.
Yeah, I definitely would be. Lima just didn't, I don't know, he just went into his side, and it was a bit of a strange accident. I'm not sure if Bally's got damage from that, but could have been a very, very bad accident there if it was closer to the corner.
It reminded me of an accident I saw at Brands Hatch last year, where a McLaren got crowded to the edge of the road in a GT4 race and ended up on top of the barriers. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, but it shows you just how difficult or just how heavy an accident can be when a driver gets crowded to the edge of the road like that. When one driver gets noses ahead of another one in a braking zone, and therefore for some reason just assumes that they're fully ahead and moves over and touches them. Meanwhile, Zander goes off the road for the second lap in a row trying to pass a GTE car at that corner. That was Jerry Chen there. And track limits, while we don't normally see them penalised in SimRacingOnline, were penalised last time out and could well be penalised again, so they need to be careful of it. You can't just cut the track to overtake slower class cars. I have to say it how it is. I'm not saying these drivers should be penalised just yet, because they have been minor infringements, and in fact last lap I think they lost more time than they gained due to it. But yeah, whatever the case, just a quick warning to the drivers.
You still have a very close battle between Mazurek and Graf in GTA. Graf didn't really seem to have the power on the straight. I'm not sure if the BMW has the power or the drag or something down the straight, but he could close up to Mazurek but not quite get close enough Insignia for the move.
Bill Grewcock says, brave move Roberto, GG. Indeed, that was, in fact, my mind's gone completely blank. What's Roberto's surname? Where do I find him? I am completely lost. Roberto Bali, sorry. I went completely past him, 3rd place. And that, of course, would be Roberto Bali's move for the lead a couple of laps ago, before it all went wrong for him. And indeed, that was a good move. And there's Andrew Harper telling the story in the YouTube chat of a kart race he did with a lot of traffic. Yeah, bet that was tough. I've done kart races with a lot of traffic before, and as Bill Grewcock says, I bet that sharpened your overtaking skills. Meanwhile, I want to have a look at the lead of the GTE class, because here you see Mazurek and Graf going side by side down the Mistral. Mazurek was previously leading, but Graf has the grunt. So Graf, with the superior straight line speed, tries to turn in, but Mazurek's still there. And if they're not careful, Carl Middleton's going to get involved in this. And they go 3 wide towards the double thread of Bose. Mazurek on the inside. Middleton wisely backs out of it. Graf is now on the outside. He's got the ideal line through the corner. Attempts a switch back on the exit. Mazurek holds the line. And it's still Mazurek from Graf from Middleton. Somehow, I really expected him to change positions. But somehow, just brilliant defense from Mazurek to keep himself on the inside to stop Graf from turning in, and I should say great heads-up driving from Graf as well, to know that Mazurek is still there and to not spin them both out by just turning across his front.
Yeah, it was very hard for fair racing. I think Middleton could have probably made the move, but he backed out, and obviously it's an endurance race. You don't really want to go for moves like that. It's just 20 minutes into this race. Especially with how long there is left to go and how many laps are left.
So after almost 20 minutes of the race, we have a real 3-way scrap on our hands for the lead of GTE. I really want to keep glancing back to the LMP2 battle, because that was close to the lead as well. And if you could keep a close eye on that, Mac, that'd be great. Yep. Really handy of you. But yeah, the GTE runners just heading back onto the Mistral again. This is where the slipstream is going to come into effect. And with all due respect to the Corvette, I'd suggest that out of these 3 cars, the Corvette's probably the slowest in a straight line, but not by much at all. That will be by 1 or 2 miles per hour top speed. And is also a very fast, very grunty car in a straight line. Now we head towards the senior corner, and Middleton got caught out a little bit there by Graf in the braking zone, and got forced off the line a bit. And that was just to avoid running into the back of Cahill Graf, which he could very easily have done there. But they continue to run in the same order a lap after they were fighting at this part of the track.
I'm just looking at lap times of the LMP2s, and Bali is, I think he's a little bit annoyed because his pace has gone up quite a bit. He's in the low 38s, late 37s in terms of lap time. The front two are in the sort of 38s, so Bali is pretty fast right now, but he's just 4 seconds behind the leader. So we've got a little bit of catching up to do after that earlier spin and mistake.
Bill Grewcock says, nice awareness of where they all are on the track. Indeed, we have seen great awareness today. Maybe not so much in the LMP2 field, but in GTE, I don't think I've seen a GTE car put a wheel wrong yet. That's, or at least in terms of causing an accident. Yeah, great driving from all 3 of these guys, fighting for the lead of the class. And looking further down in the GT field as well, we're close for 4th between Roos and Bremner. They're having a fight of their own. And further back, just to give credit to all of these other drivers, I don't see any more battles. Norman Bruce, I'm afraid, has retired from this race. So I'm afraid we've lost Norman Bruce in the BMW. Dennis Pimenov in the LMP3. I'm not exactly sure if he started this race. If he did, he didn't last very long. But anyway, sorry, clicking all the wrong buttons. We return to the head of the action. And GTE, I'm sure there's going to be another move in that fight probably before the pit stop stages.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they all take a different racing line onto the Mistral straight. And Middleton likes to go very wide, and the other two tend to take it much tighter, which is really interesting, given that they're all in 3 different car types.
Raccoon says, hello everyone, Yusuf Massett here. Hello Yusuf, who's sitting near Caitlin. This is my co-commentator, Max Shepherd. Max, say hi.
Hello.
Jolly good. Yeah, that's Max Shepherd. Oh no! Oh, sorry. Just got a little bit distracted by the GT field. I thought that Middleton had hit Graf. It was very close. They didn't quite make contact. Excuse me. Sorry for putting you on the spot like that, Mac. But whatever the case. Also, my name is spelt with an I rather than a Y. But never mind. That doesn't matter that much. Oh, and thanks for Bill Grewcock for asking his question there. And what's just happened to Mazurek? He's spun! Oh no! Mac, you saw that. I didn't. What happened to Mazurek?
I was looking at the chat and then glanced across and I just saw Mazurek bouncing off the wall. I know you've got no replays, but I'll just tell you what happened there.
Oh, he's got heavy damage. Mazurek has heavy damage. He's almost rubbing along the wall. He's off the road. And Michal Mazurek is really struggling here. The driver who was previously leading the GT field. I believe we caught it on stream, but I was looking away. Let me see if I can rewind my stream and see exactly what happened.
He went over the curb at the inside of turn 1 and it unsettled the car. He went pretty much all 4 wheels over, so it's pretty much his mistake, but straight into the wall, high speed. Yeah, it's
gutting for Michal Mazurek, and he's going to have to take a pit stop as he grabs his way down the Mistral straight. He's been passed by Williams, he's been passed by Selvi, by Chen. Meanwhile, Middleton's made a mistake. He's dropped a long way back. So Carl Middleton, who is fighting for the lead of GTE, has dropped right back into the hands of Jerry Chen. So all of a sudden, Kale Graf, who was fighting for the lead in a 3-way squabble, is all on his own with some real breathing space. Jens Roos is up to second, and this is now the fight for second and third. Jens Roos versus Zach Brebner.
Yeah, it's just gotten a little bit heated. I'm not sure if that was like a lack of concentration for Mazurek there, but really bad accident. You can see how much damage he got as well from the steering. I'm just trying to see what happened to Middleton because he dropped back as well.
Oh, Mazurek needs to slow down. He needs to come back to the pit slower than that because he is sliding the car around and he's going to cause an accident at this rate, another accident. So needs to just, well, John Hindorf always says that however slowly you think you're going when you have a damaged car, you're not going slowly enough. And Michal Mazurek returns to the pit lane and luckily manages to get out of everyone's way. Hopefully he'll be able to return to the race, but he will be a long way down the GTE order after all of this, probably last. And yeah, that is a huge shame for Michal Mazurek. So after 25 minutes, it is Paulo Lima still leading the race from Stefano Zander and Roberto Bali in the LMP2 field, and then Steve Olden. Tony Talviti leads the LMP3 field from Eric Moine and John Van der Geest, the top 3. And then we have Cahill Graf leading the GTE field, followed by a side-by-side Zach Bremner and Jens Roos. This is Zach Bremner attempting to go for second in the GTE field as they go towards Signa, and has to back out of it. Roos had the straight line speed, and I've been corrected in terms of the top speed thing I said. Oh no, I haven't. That was a joke from Bill Grewcock saying the noise which the Corvette makes must be worth at least 10 miles per hour top speed. Yeah, surely, fantastic, booming V10 engine from that Corvette. Is it a V10?
I'm not sure.
Maybe getting that completely wrong. I believe it's a V10 in the Corvette. I can't believe I can't remember that, to be honest, but whatever the case. Carl Middleton is 4th in GTE after a mistake we didn't see off screen. Then we have Jerry Chen, followed by Tanner Salvi, Andrew Williams, Ollie Bateson, Johnny Gutierrez, Vladislav Pavlov struggling in the LMP3 car, Nigel Middleton, Andrew DePete, Neil Tasker, and I'm afraid Michal Mazurek is still in the pit lane right at the back of the field.
Just talking about Carl Middleton earlier, he had a spin at Signa at the end of the straight, which is weird because it's not a corner you really make a mistake on.
Unless you clatter the curbs, sometimes the curbs can just unsettle the car through there and it can go miles off the road. It's a very fast corner. If you go off there, your tyres are going to be shot. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Carl Middleton pitting a long time before his rivals. Of course, another thing with this track is not only are you going to lose a lot of tyre life if you spin, and not only are you going to get massive flat spots, the lines at the end of the road, I don't know if you know this, but those blue and red lines are actually designed to degrade tyres. So if you run over those, especially if you run over those even slightly sideways, your tyres are going to probably scream enough. I don't like the idea personally, you know, deliberately destroying rubber just for the sake of it. And I think a much better option would be to have just a strip of grass by the side of the road to punish drivers who run slightly wide. I don't like sausage curbs and I don't like anti-tyre paint, but whatever the case, that's the solution they have here at this track. And to be honest, I don't really think it does as much as people say it does. Whatever the case, towards the end of the lap, Jens Roos still second from Zach Bremner, and I should say Carl Middleton is catching them, and this is going to be a three-way fight for second place as Jens Roos runs wide. Zach Bremner in his slipstream as they go down the start-finish straight, and
literally tucked under his rear wing.
Yeah, absolutely tucked under his rear wing. That's what you call being part of his gearbox, as Bremner gets a better run out of the corner and gets alongside him into the braking zone. That is a place where you can pull a move, and he does do. So Zach Bremner, a great move, got the run out of the first chicane and outbraked Jens Roos into the second chicane. And now there's going to be some slipstreaming taking place into the onto the Mistral. Middleton and probably Bremner will have the momentum. Roos will be struggling a bit because he would have been put off the rhythm by that. But look at them ducking and weaving to just break the toe of the cars behind. That's Bremner moving one way and everyone else following him. And we're going three wide for second in the GTE field. And Zach Bremner gets absolutely swamped after that fantastic move earlier in this lap. And Carl Middleton goes from fourth to second. Jens Roos stays third. Zach Bremner goes from second to fourth. What an incredible fight!
Not so sure about the weaving on this straight, but if you've got to try and keep that position, you need to do what you can to keep it. I'm not sure if Bremner really made the right decision in going for that move down the inside, because he just got overtaken straight away as he makes a move on Jens Roos up the inside at the end of the lap, and that is him up into, I'm not sure what position, but yeah, not sure if that was the right decision to make the move down the inside.
Half an hour gone. We've got 2 more of those to go. So in other words, an hour to go. We're expecting the pit window to be around 50 minutes to 70 minutes, so drivers will be pitting around about that time. We may see the first pitting slightly before 50 minutes, and if we're going to see double stoppers, they're going to be pitting in around about 5 to 10 minutes time. But actually, to be honest, at a track like this, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple of double stoppers. This track is difficult on tyres, especially the very lovely named corner, the Doubleau de Beauzet, because it's a long, fast right-hander, double apexed. You do tend to be leaning on the car through that, and the front left tyre can often scream enough. I can remember I did a touring car race in which my brother claimed he was losing about 5% tyre wear per lap in that corner alone. Admittedly, he was doing something dreadfully wrong, but still, it's an extremely tough corner and an extremely tough circuit in terms of tyre life.
We've just had Johnny Gutierrez in the pits. He's one of the first GTs, I believe, to not repair damage, of course, to actually go for his pit stop for tyres, which is quite early, I believe.
And that's giving him some clean air. I believe he'll be doing a double stop, so if he can make advantage of this clean air, he may well be able to benefit from that.
And a spin for Bremner as well. He was fighting for third in class, I think.
Zach Bremner, where's he? Oh, indeed, yeah, Zach Bremner was that GTE car running up with Jens Roos.
In class now, I believe.
So, Middleton second, followed by Roos. Jerry Chen is up to fourth, and Zach Bremner did jump up to, or drop down to 5th place. There was indeed a mistake from him. So, yeah, well spotted, Mac, and that's a shame to see for Zach Bremner. Meanwhile, Michal Mazurek is back on track. Let's see if we can find him. Has he fixed all of his suspension damage? We'll see when he gets onto a straighter piece of the track. He's just coming up to the pit straight. I expect he will do, but he will be several laps back, so he has a long way to go in this race if he's going to bring this back. Out of the final corner comes Michal Mazurek, and down the start-finish straight, across the start-finish line. His steering looks dead straight to me. That's how he likes it. And he is actually on the same lap as Andre Depi in the car ahead, but a long way back, and he has a lot of ground to make up if he's going to salvage anything from this race.
Oh, we've got a spin from Zander as well, because he's dropped back 12 seconds from I can't remember what position he was in. I believe he was still in third in LMP2. He's had it hit with the wall because his steering's bent left.
Ooh, yeah, dodgy steering for Zander. That's big drama for our previous LMP2 and overall race leader. Remember, that's pole position, Stefano Zander, if I remember correctly. So the fastest qualifier on the track is in real strife. He's still running pretty quickly, actually, with that damaged car. But yeah, it is indeed a damaged car, and I'm expecting him to pit early, if not this lap. Oh, okay, yeah, really struggling. He's probably going to pit this lap.
Just going to try and rewind, see what happened to him.
Of course, oh, he goes off again. Of course, if he's wise in this situation, he'll put himself on a double stop strategy and try to make the most of that. Indeed, here he comes into the pits. So what Zander will be doing now is putting on soft tyres from here on, and I don't expect he'll refuel in this stop, and if he does, it'll be a quick splash. But yeah, this will be a double stop strategy from Stefano Zander, who was third in LMP2, previously fighting for the lead in class. And is he going to be passed by Steve Olden? Olden's quite a way back, has been struggling a little bit in this race, but Zander, if he can repair the damage in time and get out ahead, will still be in third position. We'll see. So
can't quite find what happened to him, so I'm assuming he hit the wall.
Little mistake from Steve Olden. He had a little slide there, going through Bender. Struggling a little bit to pass John van der Geest, third in the LMP3 class. And now he's about to cross the start-finish line, and Zander is still in the pits, meaning Olden will inherit third in class. As he crosses the start-finish line, Steve Olden goes third and passes John van der Geest. Of course, this isn't for position. Van der Geest is a lap down to him. Maybe 2 laps down. Nope, just 1. And Zander still in the pits. Damage repairs taking a while. So that means Steve Olden goes up to third in LMP2. Zander drops to fourth and last in that class. Can he make anything up when he gets back out of the pits again towards the end of the race?
And Carl Middleton's up to second in GTE. I believe he's made a move or two, unless someone's pitted. But
no, that's, of course, he got past Jens Roos earlier, and he's up to second because of Zach Bremner's spin. So, yeah, that happened a little while ago. And Carl Middleton running nicely in second position in class in the Porsche. Let's now the race is quieting down a bit. Let's go up to watch our overall leader, Paulo Lima. He's racing with the yellow liveried Oreca. Of course, that car won the race last time out in the hands of Dimitri Buksha, who isn't here again today. But of course, all the cars in the LMP2 class, I think, identical. Let me just check that. Yes, they are all Orecas, and all of the cars in the LMP3 class are Normas. So all of those cars identical. The only cars that do differ are the GTEs. Talking of GTEs, KL Graf there lapping the last place GTE of Andre Depi. Of course, in the GTE class, we have the BMW, we have the Porsche, as driven here by Carl Middleton. We have, let me keep looking down, we have the Corvette, as driven by Tanner Selvi. And I think that's it. Porsche, BMW, Corvette. So in total, 5 different cars in this race. As Andre Monet there has a big slide there. Second in the LMP3 class. And he was lucky to avoid Olden in all of that. He very nearly spun straight into the path of Steve Olden, and they do very nearly make contact there, heading out onto the Mistral. I don't think Monet knew he was quite as far alongside him as he was, and luckily they both just about avoid making contact, but that was hairy.
Yeah, Olden had to completely cut the curb just to avoid smashing to the side of him, and I think it was just a misunderstanding of where Olden actually was on track. I was just watching LMP2 race leader Lima up ahead at the last corner, and he got completely held up by a GTE. He literally had to slam on the brakes just to avoid hitting him, which allowed Bally to close in the gap to about 2 seconds, so pretty close between them.
Well, the first word in Multiclass Endurance Series is multi-class, and with that, you have traffic. So getting through traffic is something that makes some drivers great, and also, as said traffic, you need to make sure you don't cause an issue for the leaders. Just hold your line, be predictable, and that's what makes a good lower class driver as well. But yeah, Steve Olden completes another lap. Stefano Zander is out on track again in 4th position in class. He's just passed a GTE car. Here's Tony Talviti leading the LMP3 class, and with this result he will be well on his way to taking the lead of the LMP3 category. His main rival John Van der Geest is 3rd in class, and let me work out the difference between the two. So the difference coming into this round is 4 points, which is also the difference between first and second place finishers, and then you have another 3 points back to 3rd place, meaning if they finish this way, then Tony Talviti will be leading the LMP3 championship by just 3 points from John Van der Geest. That's how they're going to be. And I've been corrected. Bill Grucock says the C7R Corvette has a V8, not a V10. I am so sorry. I can't believe I didn't know that. Of course it has a V8. I feel really silly about that, but whatever the case. Also in the YouTube chat, Andrew Harper saying, "Wow, it's unusual that as this track has so much runoff." Do you mean drivers hitting the wall, or do you mean it's unusual that a track has this much runoff? I suppose both. Raccoon says, "In my opinion, the overall width of the track is encouraging drivers to push more and eventually run off more." That does tend to happen. We've seen that in real life, and we've also seen that both in this round and also last time out at Dijon. There was quite a large runoff on the exit of the final corner, and I don't think there was a single car who didn't abuse that at some point in the race, some more than others. Andrew Harper says, "Oh geez, this will be a 5-minute pit stop." That will be for I think either Michal Mazurek or Stefano Zander. Both have had issues and both have had to repair their car in the pits at some point. And Andrew Harper says these three are very well matched. I don't quite know which three they're talking about, but yeah, probably a battle between one of the 2 sets of 3 GTE cars we had earlier on. Indeed, they were very well matched, and it was great to see them fighting together.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame about Mazurek, because I'm looking at his lap times. He's actually probably one of the fastest GTs on track, although he has pitted for new tyres. But his pace is pretty good, and he's just at the back, which is kind of a shame, because he was fighting with was it Graf and Middleton, I believe, through by fight, and it was actually really good up until a few drivers started making mistakes.
Yeah, I believe he's just I think he's just unlapped himself from Ollie Bateson a couple of laps ago, and now he's hunting down Andre Deppy, who is the car ahead of him in the order. But yeah, still a long way back, I'm afraid to say, after all of that.
LMP2 race leaders just pitted.
Okay, so our first...
And second.
Oh, first and second in from the lead of LMP2, Lima and Bali, and this is where it starts to get serious. 42 minutes into the race. They will be able to run to the end from here. So Lima stops in his box, Bali stops in his box, and it's all about who's taking on how much fuel and who can get out quicker of the two. We're just waiting for Paulo Lima to get running again. Stefano Zander has crossed the line, but he of course is a lap down, meaning he hasn't taken the lead of LMP2 with that one. Bali technically takes the lead of LMP2 temporarily, just ahead of Paulo Lima, but Lima gets running. Come on, Bali, is he going to get going? I don't think he's going to take the lead of the race in all of this, and he starts running now. So Lima conserves the lead of the race as he exits the pits. Bali is second, and we wait for other LMP2 leaders to LMP2 runners to pit. Steve Alden there actually unlaps himself to Bali temporarily.
I think he's going to get relapped on the Mistral straight, pretty much in 2 corners time. So going to be very short-lived for Alden, but may as well go for it.
So here comes Bali on the Mistral straight. Now Alden will have to give way to him. They're in the same class, he can't afford to hold him up. And Roberto Bali is going to easily slipstream his way past Alden on the Mistral. Through he goes, and hopefully Alden makes it easy for him. Indeed he does. Slightly backs off, and as they head into the Senior, Alden will be nowhere in sight, and that won't have held Bali up in the slightest. In fact, it may well have even helped him, as he had a quick slipstream from Alden's car. So that's all nicely done, and we wait for other prototype runners to pit. Now,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say that in the YouTube chat we've had a request from Yusuf Massett for an onboard lap from John van der Geest, and seeing as we have a relatively quiet point in the race temporarily before we get our other pit stops, sure, why not? John van der Geest just heading up through the first chicane, 3rd place in the LMP3 class, showing us how it's done. Sorry, Mac, I interrupted you.
I was literally just about to say the exact same thing as you, just the YouTube chat, so that's
fine. Goodness, okay, that's great. Well, John van der Geest just heading through the lower part of the track, depending on what map you look at. It's a 3-way chicane, and weirdly, they don't count as corners according to the official track map, so that's bizarre. Out onto the Mistral straight, passing the Mistral chicanes, and over the crest of the hill. The next corner will be Signa to the right. It's the fastest corner on the track. Let's see what kind of speed he can hold through here. He reached 180 miles per hour and only decelerates to 107 miles per hour. That's still over 100 miles per hour, obviously enough. Extremely, extremely fast through Signa. And then just under 70 miles per hour through the Diblodad de Bose. I got another chance to say it. Left-hander at Bendor. Late apex as you possibly can get to get a good run through Village. And some people will run the curb through there, some people will clip it late. Left-hander at Tours. And then finally, the end of the lap is the Virage de Pont. Little overcorrection from John van der Geest, but he gets it turned in. And he's going to overtake Eric Moinet because Moinet is in the pits from 2nd in the LMP3 class, and John van der Geest on that lap has gone up to 2nd temporarily in the LMP3 class. You're welcome, Yusuf.
I was just going to say, Zander lost about a minute in his pit stop, so I believe he was repairing damage. I think, was that Bali or Zander or Zander repairing damage in the pits?
Zander,
yeah. So Zander lost about a minute repairing damage in the pit stops, which is why he's about a minute and 7 seconds behind. So otherwise he'd be right in with the top 3.
Yikes, that is a lot of time lost for Stefano Zander. He was running 3rd place already, but now he's dropped a long way behind. And I'm interested to see when Steve Alden pits, and also our LMP3 leaders, Talviti and van der Geest. Neither of them have pitted yet. In fact, let's watch Talviti and see if he does this lap. I can't imagine he's going to be able to go that many more laps on this fuel load. We're already past the halfway point in this race, and Tony Talviti will either come in, I presume, this lap, next lap, or very, very soon. I know that's very open-ended, but whatever the case. And he does now pit from the lead of the LMP3 class. So will John van der Geest come in from second place temporarily, third place effectively. He's just coming through the final sector of the course. About to be lapped, I think, by Roberto Bali. But to be honest, that would probably make now a good time to pit and dive out of the way of that LMP2 car, which he doesn't do. So van der Geest will temporarily lead the LMP3 class, will he? Yes, he does, because Talviti is still in the pits. Van der Geest leads the LMP3 class, but let's see where Talviti comes out in relation to Moine. That's the important part here. Talviti gets going again, and he should come out ahead of Moine. In fact, I can't even see Moine in the background, so that's a decisive lead for Tony Talviti, reigning LMP2 champion, current LMP3 championship leader.
Yep, so Moine just came through the last corner, just finishing the lap. So yeah, Talviti's got a pretty good lead at the moment. Fairly comfortable in the leads of LMP3.
I've just noticed that Zach Bremner has come into the pits from temporary, I think third in GTE. I believe Carl Middleton must have stopped, but I didn't see it. So Middleton stopped, meaning Bremner inherited third in GTE. He's just made a pit stop. We're almost 50 minutes into this race now, and that means that temporarily it's KL Graf leading from Jerry Chen and Tanner Selvey in that class. Selvey's a driver we haven't really seen that much of today, but he's just quietly setting lap times and quietly continuing and doing a good job of it.
Carl Middleton stopped 2 laps ago. I didn't catch that pit stop, but he did stop very recently, so he is on his way back into the race.
Thank you for that. Oh, and we have a car stop to the inside of the Vero Stilapon there. Sorry, just Vero Stilapon, and that was Nigel Middleton. So Nigel Middleton had a little bit of an off somehow. I'm not sure whether that was a technical issue or whether he had a spin, but anyway, he's got the car running again and continues on his way. Now, when do our other GTE cars pit? KL Graf coming out to the final corner. Into the pits comes Tony Talviti. Now, hasn't he just stopped?
Yes, he has.
This could be drama for Tony Talviti, and there may be a chance that he either didn't get his pit settings right, or possibly he sped in the pit lane and got a 10-second penalty because it's a stop-go. I mean, it's either a stop-go or a pit stop.
I think it's a stop-go.
Yeah. That was about the right time to be a stop-go. Where is Moine? Moine's gone through. So Moine effectively leads the LMP3 class now. Drama for Talviti. And he is going to be kicking himself for that. It is contact. He's taken off Zander. Oh, my word. Zander and Talviti make massive, massive contact. They both go off. There's going to be heavy damage for both cars, surely. Zander. Oh, yeah, it looks as if he's retiring. He stopped the car. And I'm going to look at...
Talviti's got damage as well.
Yeah, I'm going to look back at that on the YouTube stream. Whose fault with that? I don't know.
That was bad.
That was bad. Zander with heavy damage, and surely Talviti, our previous, our former LMP3 race leader. Just dramatic moments here from Paul Ricard. And 2 very damaged cars, and probably 2 very disappointed drivers. John van der Geest into the pits now from the lead on track of LMP3. Now, who will it be? 1-8. Sorry, I was going to say, who is it going to be out of Talviti or van der Geest? Oh, they've made contact again! They've crashed again! Talviti has just been spun off again by Zander. Now, I didn't see the start of that, and I hate to jump to conclusions.
Oh god, this is going very badly.
I don't want to say what I feel like saying, but could that have been just a red mist?
Oh, come on. Come on, Xander.
I'm not saying it was. He's now retired from the race. I'm not saying it was. But could it have been?
Yeah.
If you could... We didn't catch that on replay, so if you could have a look at that, that'd be fantastic.
I'm watching it just now, and they're coming up to Senior, and Xander obviously is in a faster car, and he just pretty much... Something he's seen probably NASCAR where they hit the back of them, and then he just went straight into the back of Talvitie. Looked fairly deliberate.
Oh, I hate to jump to conclusions, but that is very unnecessary. And Talvitie, where is Talvitie?
I just looked at the initial crash, and it was about a closing speed of 50 miles per hour. And I don't know why Talvitie was so slow. It might be because he was coming out the pits at the time, but yeah, Xander's retired. That was.
Goodness gracious me. And that means that Eric Moine leads LMP3, followed by John Van der Geest a couple of seconds down the road. Vladislav Pavlov is up to third in LMP3 after being stuck behind GTE cars for almost the entire race. Incredible from Pavlov. What about... in fact, okay, so Talvitie is back in the pits for the third time. He is going to be so disappointed at this. Steve Olden is up to third in LMP2. What a dramatic turn of events.
And of course that's gifted a podium to Olden, so as you were saying before, you can turn up and get a podium, but for LMP2 cars starting, Olden was clearly off the pace, but if he finishes today, he's going to finish on the podium.
Fight for third in GTE is now Jens Roos versus Carl Middleton, and I think all of these guys up here have pitted. I'm not sure yet about Pavlov, but I'm pretty sure that everyone else I'm looking at has stopped. What about KL Graf? Did he stop? Can you check that quickly?
I'll try to, yes.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason my stream's not letting me rewind either, so I can't have a look at exactly what happened between the prototypes.
KL Graf has not pitted yet.
Okay, so KL Graf, the GTE leader, one of the last cars we're waiting for. And he should still lead the GTE class after his stop, but we'll see.
Just Bill Krukok saying in the YouTube chat that will surely be subject to protest after the race, and yeah, I would not be surprised.
So. Yeah, again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't want to say it was absolutely deliberate.
I'm not going to pass judgment, but from what it looked like on my end, it looked kind of deliberate. Like, if Xander wanted to get past him, he would have just gone to the inside of Senior and gone past, but he literally just used the closing speed and hit him in behind. And yeah, game over at that point.
We've got comments about it already pouring in. Rakin says, unbelievable, that was so unnecessary. Horrible, horrible crash. Sad face. Raccoon says, not cool. And Bill G says, that will surely... Oh, you've read that already. That will surely be subject to a protest. Indeed it will, and quite rightly so. Someone else just pitted. Or did they? Oh no, that was KL Graf actually now being classified ahead of Xander. So KL Graf, incredibly, in the GTE car, now classified 4th overall.
I think about Xander, he was closing on the leaders. He was a minute behind, but he was closing on the leaders about 2-3 seconds a lap. So he was the quickest of the three, but it just proves if you can be quick, but if the red mist descends and you can't control your emotions, it's not going to end well for you.
Yeah, pole sitter, Stefano Xander, and I don't know. I'm struggling to piece together what happened in my memory.
Oh, Bally's in the wall.
Who's in the wall?
LMP2 is in the wall. Bally.
Roberto Bally from second in LMP2 is in the wall. Now, who did he hit?
It was a yellow... I'm not sure.
It was Tanner Selvi. So Tanner Selvi, who is running 4th in GT, I believe, is still pointing backwards. And I think... Well, I can hear his engine. And he has got it restarted, so he gets... No, he's still stuck in the wall. Come on, Tanner. He needs to wait for a gap in the traffic and get it going again. He's going to lose a lot of time. and hopefully hasn't got too much damage. And I didn't see how that started. Can you maybe look back at that? Was it maybe that Tanner wasn't holding his line?
At the time, I just went to Bally, and he was lapping. He's got pretty bad damage at the moment. He was lapping Sylvie, and he went up the inside of the left-hander or the right-hander, just turn 1, turn 2, that part of the track, and cut the corner essentially to get past the back marker, and then they collided. Like, if you're surely in the LMP2 car, you should just be patient because you're faster anyway.
Yeah. Bally's not fighting anyone, so he really should have been patient there. So Roberto Bally may well need to take a pit stop, and LMP2 is proving to be a real race of attrition indeed. Into the pits comes Roberto Bally. Is he going to hand third place to Steve Olden? Actually, looking at where Olden is, surely he is. No, because Olden's a lap back, excuse me. So I don't think they are going to swap places unless this is really extensive damage repairs for Roberto Bally. But whatever the case, yeah, gutting to see. And that means really the only unaffected LMP2 car in this race so far is our leader, Paulo Lima.
And Paulo just needs to, he doesn't even need to push this point because he's got the race in the bag. It just seems that the red mist is descended on the LMP2 class for some reason.
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy.
I mean, sometimes with a race this long, it is tricky to keep your, to keep your composure, to keep cool. And often you don't see drivers dealing with it in the best way. Meanwhile, Carl Middleton is catching Jens Roos. Of course, these two are second and third in the GTE class. We're still waiting for Kale Graf to finally make his pit stop. In fact, he's getting close to the pit lane now. He must have started the race on the harder tyres with more fuel than these other guys. But yeah, Graf somehow still lapping quickly and still doesn't pit. Are you sure he hasn't stopped yet? He's ahead of the LMP3 leader.
No, he hasn't pitted yet.
Oh my goodness.
He really has not pitted yet, which is, all his lap times are in the 47s, 48s, 49s, so it's quite crazy.
So Cahill Graf just not dropping off the pace. Meanwhile, behind him, Jens Roos and Carl Middleton fight for second. And the Porsche did get quite close to the BMW by the end of the Mistral last time around. Not quite close enough, but it was close. And I can imagine that we're going to see more of that attack this lap, as of course, if you remember correctly, as into the pits comes Gutierrez. If you remember correctly, these two were fighting earlier on in the race. Then Middleton had a spin and dropped back, and ever since then he's been catching back up to the tail of Roos, and now he's got to do all of that all over again, hopefully without the spin this time. But yeah, this is Porsche versus Corvette. Jens versus Carl, and it's going to be almost exactly the same move, but no it isn't, because Roos this time is wise to it. I think it was Middleton on Roos that pulled that move last time out, and whatever the case, Roos wise to it this time, and Middleton is going to have to settle for the slipstream down the Mistral, the ultra powerful Mistral slipstream. Here we go.
He's a fair distance back, so he's going to get a very good draft on this very long straight. I believe it was Bremner making that move that you were talking about, not Middleton.
You're right, sorry. So Carl Middleton in the slipstream over the crest of the hill. The Porsche, having all the air taken off its wings, or at least the majority of it, goes to the inside. And he's going to be alongside him through Signia, but needs to get all the way alongside, and he does! Because if you can hold it on the outside of Signia, you have the better line. But Roos has to back off. He goes for the switchback, and it's in the hands of Carl Middleton, second in GTE. Roos had another look, but that looks pretty done and dusted for now, so long as Middleton doesn't make another mistake. And it's Graf first, Middleton second, Roos third.
And Graf is finally pitted.
There he goes, after over an hour's worth of racing. I'll have to look all the way up the field for that. Kale Graf dropping, well, behind the prototypes finally, as he pits his GTE car. And he is going to come out a whole straight ahead of the fight for second. Fantastic from Cahill Graf.
Yeah, but he's still in the lead. Just a really, really good race from him so far. Going an hour into the race without pitting. Keeping up his pace. His lap times have not dropped off at all before he pitted. So really, really good. Of course, he's got the benefit of the guys behind battling quite a bit. So that's going to give him a little bit of leeway. But We also missed Bally pitted again. I'm not sure why, but he came in again.
Was that because of the damage, or was it after his damage?
I think it was after the damage.
You know what? Looking at where they are on the looking at where they are on the track, Paulo Lima is leading this race by over a lap. That's how much the LMP2 field has been overtaken. It's just been a case of follow the Lima.
Yep, pretty much. I think it's Bally's been involved in an instance. Zanda was involved in a big instant, and Olden is just sitting there 4 or 5 seconds off the pace and having a fairly good race in third. If Bally gets into another instant, I could see Olden getting past him.
After an hour of racing, I can finally decisively run you through the order. It's Paulo Lima leading the race, followed by Roberto Bally, who's in the pits for the 4th time. Roberto, what the heck? It looks as if he's still got suspension damage. Has he crashed again? Roberto Bally has either crashed again or it's a drive-through. He's gone all the way through the pit lane. Now, was that for speeding in the pits, or his steering's still not completely straight? This is drama for Roberto Bally, going through the pit lane for the 3rd lap in a row and the 4th time in this race so far. He's still 2nd in LMP2, but what the heck? Why is he struggling so much?
I really don't know, because that's... How many times through the pits is that? It's
4 times.
4 times. So he pitted for his scheduled stop on lap 26, and then the last 2 laps he's been through twice, I think. So it's 3 or 4.
And then he also pitted for damage, right? Or was that what you were talking about?
I think it's been 3 times.
Okay, so I think there was miscommunication, sorry. Whatever the case, Paulo Lima still leading this race from Roberto Bally in 2nd somehow, although over a lap back. Steve Olden 3rd, who is about a straight back from Bally after all of this, and definitely catching and will pass him if Bally goes through the pits one more time. Monet is leading LMP3. Then we have John Vandegie 2nd in LMP3 and Vladislav Pavlov 3rd. That's a mouthful. Vladislav Pavlov. Do you need any more V's than that? Wow. KL Graf 1st in GTE. Carl Middleton 2nd in GTE. Jens Roos 3rd in GTE. And actually Middleton's been pulling away from Roos since we last time looked at them. Jerry Chen 4th, then we have Zach Bremner, Andrew Williams, Nigel Middleton, Ollie Bateson, Michal Mazurek on a recovery drive, Tony Talviti on a recovery drive, Johnny Gutierrez, Neil Tasker, Andre DePete, and then we've lost Tanner Selvey after that accident with Bally, Stefano Zander after those 2 accidents with Talviti, Norman Bruce off screen, and Denis Pimenov off screen. That's how they stand after over an hour of racing.
I'm just wondering, with 25 minutes left, if Middleton, Carl Middleton, not Nigel Middleton, can catch Cahill Graf for the lead. Graf's in the pits again. What?
Oh no! Oh, and after complimenting on him on his fantastic race, he may well have forgot. Has he either? So I can think of 2 things. He's either forgotten to refuel, or he's sped in the pit lane and got a penalty for it.
It's a drive-through. It was a drive-through.
It was a drive-through.
Bally's out the race.
No! No, it's all happening. Roberto Bally retires from 2nd in LMP2 and the championship lead. Steve Olden is up into 2nd in LMP2. Eric Monet will be up into 3rd overall after all of this. Carl Middleton takes the lead of GTE. Jens Roos is 2nd in GTE. Jerry Chen 3rd. Cahill Graf is now on his tail, and this is the fight for 3rd. What gutting news for both Bally and Graf.
Just trying to see what happened to Bally, because that's... So he's in the pits 3 to 4 times, and then I'm just going to try and see how he DNF'd. I don't know if he just gave up or if he had crash damage.
3rd place in GTE going at it. 3rd place in GTE going at it. Cahill Graf side by side with Jerry Chen down the Mistral Straight. Sorry to interrupt you. And this is going to be a drag race, a battle of grunt between 2 titans of the German automotive industry. It's going to be Chen on the inside and Graf on the outside, and they're still side by side. There's slight wheel-to-wheel contact, I think. And as they go into the Double de Bose, yes, Jerry Chen is on the inside and manages to make the move, or to hold the move for now. Graf comes back to him. He won't take no for an answer, having just led the race for over an hour. lights to flag. He was running ahead of the whole LMP3 class until very recently, and does take third in class. Sorry, Mac, I interrupted you.
I think Bally's had a game problem because he's gone through the pits. I'm just watching him. He keeps going through the pits, stopping, and then, yeah, I think he has some sort of game problem where it's not giving him new tires or new fuel or something, because he's going through the pits how many times now? 4 or 5 times?
I had that in the past. I've had that on 2 occasions. Well, I've had that once in that way, actually. It was in an endurance race, much like this one, actually. And I came into the pits with absolutely no fuel left, and my pit box wasn't there. And I'd requested my pit, I'd requested to pit. I didn't have a pit box; it just wasn't there. And maybe the same thing has happened to Roberto Bally. If so, that's utterly gutting, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was watching Bally before he pitted, and he was like waving across the straight. He was drifting through the corners. You can tell how like frustrated he was because he knew something was wrong. So I'm assuming it was a game glitch of some sort.
Yeah, that can happen, and it's always gutting. Meanwhile, Nigel Middleton comes in for what I think is either a very late first stop or a very early second stop, or maybe a damage. Ooh, is his steering hanging slightly?
First stop, I believe.
Oh wow, Nigel Middleton. Award goes to him for the latest stopper, if I remember correctly, if I'm not miscounting anyone. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic race from him. It's amazing he's made his tyres last for that long.
God, it got very heated very quickly in this race. Kind of interesting.
Absolutely, it did. In terms of Nigel Middleton and those GTEs pitting very late, my teammate Fabian could always pit really, really late in a GT. Admittedly, that was in a GT3 car when I did endurance racing myself. And you know, he could often run to an hour and 10 minutes or so. But yeah, it's unusual to see a GTE car doing it just because of the extra speed and the extra fuel mileage. Or the reduced fuel mileage, sorry, of the GTE car. And yeah, just quite impressive to see him running for almost an hour and 10 minutes on the same tank of fuel on the same tyres.
I don't think there's too much drop off in the tyres, maybe like a second or two in every class, but at the same time, yeah, it's still pretty impressive. I'm
surprised. I really thought there'd be more of a tyre drop off because, I mean, admittedly, I've only ever raced here in a touring car before, but you know, when I raced here in a touring car, the tyre wear was massive. So it may well be... Well, no, I did race here in a GTE car, and that was quite heavy tyre wear, to be honest. So it may well be that these guys are just better at tyre conservation than me. But yeah, whatever the case, still running on their way. 20 minutes to go, and I'm watching Tony Talviti as he continues to run in 16th position overall. And of course, that is after his 2 comings together with an LMP2 car a little while ago. He's on a recovery drive, and his first target will be the Porsche of Nigel Middleton, just a few corners up the road. You have to feel for someone like Tony Talviti. He was on course to take the lead of the championship before all of that happened, and now it's just swinging right back into the hands of his main rival, John Van der Geest.
And shout out to Mazurek. He was stone dead last at one point during this race, and he's moved up a few positions now. I'm trying to see what position he's in.
13th overall, and 13th. That would be, let me go to the head of the GTs and count back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th place in GTE out of 9, 10. Sorry. Let me just, okay. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 starters. So 8th out of 14 starters after all of that happened to him, after he had such a lengthy pit stop. Really not that bad from Mazurek. He's still going to be disappointed, but you know, he's giving it a good go, and congratulations to him for that.
There's been so much happening in fact the past few laps. I can't even remember what happened before that, with crashes and drivers going off and everything. Just a little bit of a crazy race recently.
Bill Grucock, sorry, I think this is a late message, but he says Jens Roos and Carl Middleton showing exactly how racing should be done. That was when Middleton passed Roos a couple of laps ago, and indeed it was a fantastic fight. But now, of course, Middleton pulling away from Roos It looked as if all he needed was clean air, and now he's got it. He's pulling away. Meanwhile, I see some GTE cars going side by side down the Mistral.
Oh, Middleton span.
Who has? Middleton! No! And he's about to lose out to Roos again! I think I cursed him. I said a couple of laps ago he had to do exactly what he'd done at the start of the race. Again, just without the spin. He's had the spin as well. So Middleton spins and drops behind Roos for the second time in this race. And that means that Roos is up to second. No, Roos is up to the class lead. Middleton was leading, and Jens Roos takes the lead of GTE. Middleton is second, and look who is hunting them down.
Yeah, just too much speed into the corner, and I think he's got flat spotted tyres because he smoked them quite a bit trying to get back into the race, but it's not over yet. Still time to go, 18 minutes left.
And this is actually for position with Vladislav Pavlov, because he's just come out of the pit lane. So Pavlov, either making his first stop or his second. I think that was his first, to be honest. Can we have that double checked?
Yep, first stop.
Incredible! I keep awarding that award to the wrong person. First I thought it was Graf, then I thought it was Nigel Middleton. Now it's Vladislav Pavlov. Unbelievable, running 73 minutes. Admittedly, he has now dropped behind his behind the GTE field, but he is still third in LMP3. Let's see how much of a gap he has back to
Might have a
Tony
move on
Talviti.
Middleton here by Graf at the end of the straight.
Oh, indeed, Graf going for second in GTE on Middleton. Goes to the inside towards Sinja, and that is a move that we've seen work almost every time that we've seen it so far today. And through he goes, and Middleton, who was leading this race just a lap ago, will be absolutely kicking himself from that. He's dropped from first to third. Cahill Graf is through to second. Jens Roos is through to the lead. What can Graf do about getting his lead back from Jens Roos?
Well, I think Graf might have the pace over Jens Roos, to be honest. He's in the 46s, and Jens Roos is in the 48s. That's 2 seconds a lap that Graf has on Roos, and I think the gap's about, what, 1 second, 2 seconds?
Meanwhile, despite dropping behind the leading GTE runners, Vladislav Pavlov still has over a lap's gap back to Tony Talviti after all of the Tony Talviti issues that we witnessed earlier on in this race. So he doesn't really have to worry about anything. Just bring it home to the finish, and he will be classified in third position in the LMP3 class. But he will want to finish ahead of the GTEs because he's in a faster car, and he won't want the embarrassment of finishing behind the leading GTE runners. But whatever the case, still good to see him still running in this race. Meanwhile, I think our GTE runners are about to lap Michal Mazurek.
Just watching on board with Graf closing up to the back of Jens Roos slowly. I think we're going to see a move anytime soon now.
Well, let's watch the move on board. Here he comes in the slipstream. Maybe a little bit too far back, but we've seen the slipstream's extremely effective because we do use the entire Mistral straight in uninterrupted. Roos, you can tell he's definitely feeling antsy about this by the body language of his car. Pulls over to the left-hand side of the track. Here comes Graf. He's going to be close enough. Graf is going to be close enough to go alongside him to the lead of this race. And through he goes. Yes, he goes through. Cahill Graf back into the lead of the GTE class ahead of Roos and Middleton. And for all the people who were asking to see more of the GTE action this time round, I hope this is what you wanted, because this is fantastic from Graf, Roos and Middleton.
And Graf is only 5th overall in this race, so I'm not sure what's happened to the LMP. There are only 2 LMP2 cars, but what's happened to the LMP3 cars this race?
So in terms of LMP3 class, we have Monet leading from Van der Geest. Actually, Van der Geest closing in a bit, but I don't think it'll be by enough unless he can really pull something out of the bag. And then we have Vladislav Pavlov, who unfortunately hasn't been challenging the lead GTE cars for pretty much this entire race. He was ahead of them, but because he hadn't stopped, so Pavlov just simply not quite getting the hang of it yet. And then we have the only other LMP3 car, who is Tony Talviti, who, well, we all know what happened to him.
Bill Krugert just saying in the chat, Cahill has fresher tyres than Jens, so
very true.
Makes sense. Yep, makes sense given their pace difference.
Yep, very, very true indeed. Also saying this is getting interesting, but I take it that means before before the move happened. Yeah, indeed, fresher tyres for KL Graf, and the momentum as well, because if you remember, he was leading the race by such a big gap, and then suddenly everything went wrong for him, probably sped in the pit lane. But yeah, Graf, our GT pole sitter, obviously fired up and getting back past into the lead of that GTE field. Meanwhile, that is a move for position. That's Pavlov overtaking Carl Middleton. So Pavlov getting his stuff together and overtaking a GTE car. That's good to see. I don't mean to be overly harsh on Pavlov by saying that. I apologise if it came across as harsh, but yeah, Pavlov still running in this race and doing a good job in third position. Of course, not doing a good job would be not finishing, because this is an endurance race. So the fact that Pavlov is still running in this race means that he is doing a good job. And now his next target will be Jens Roos, second place in GTE.
And Jens Roos seems to be keeping up fairly well with Graf up ahead. They are getting up to, well, actually they're not really getting up to a bit of traffic, they're getting up to the back of Mazurek. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Pavlov can make a move on Jens Roos' lap. They are different classes, but the LMP3 cars, as we said earlier, are fairly similar in pace to the GTEs.
And Mazurek, of course, is trying to run to the end from here, I think. He had to pit slightly early due to his contact, and I don't know if he's going to, well, it's probably too late for a splash and dash, so I think he's probably trying to hold it to the end. It's not the ideal strategy, and that's where he's dropping back on old tyres. And this should be easy peasy lemon squeezy from KL Graf. And it's going to be so frustrating from Michal Mazurek to see his championship rival go breezing past him due to simply something that happened earlier in the race.
Mazurek's pace has dropped off a little bit, but I think he's just nursing it to the end. I don't think he can really do much more than this after what happened earlier in the race, which is a shame to have your race basically decided that early.
One thing I should say in terms of the GTE battle is that we don't have Barrett Eriksson here today, and that's a shame. Or at least I don't think we have Barrett Eriksson. Indeed, let me check that. No, we don't. And that's a shame, because he was running third in the GTE field coming into this round, the ultra-competitive GTE field. And yeah, it would have been nice to see him here today, but yeah, unfortunately not turning up. But never mind about that, it is Easter Sunday, he's probably away with his family. Also a shame not to see Matthias Markal here. He's been, he signed up for the LMP3 class going into this series. But didn't manage to make any of those races, and today is doing a go-kart race
making a move
elsewhere.
on Roos up the inside of turn 1, and it's nice and easy. Pavlov going up into 6th.
6th overall, no change in terms of class positions, nicely and cleanly done. And his next target will be KL Graf, and I'm not sure which is running faster of the two actually, out of Graf or Pavlov. They're probably setting about the same laps at present.
Graf is in the mid to late 46s. Pavlov is in the 47s. So I think, yeah, I think Graf's got this fairly easy, unless he makes a mistake, of course.
Doesn't really matter. Points are just awarded within class, not overall, meaning that that change in position, according to the championship, never happened. Watch Middleton. Middleton to the inside of Roos. This is for second in class, and this would be the third time he's had to overtake Roos. If he does, tries to go for it and holds it on the inside, and that is a good move from Middleton. Oh, actually, Roos coming back to him, holding it on the outside. Brilliant defense from Roos, and Middleton closes the door on the exit, and it's Middleton who comes away with second place in the GTE class. Very, very well done from Carl Middleton in the Porsche.
Just looking up ahead, Paulo Lima, he has really dropped back. He's still leading the race, but last 2 laps were 2:12 and a 2:02 compared to a 1:39 usually. So he's made.
Did you say 2 minutes?
Yes.
I was going
over
to
2
say
minutes both, because Steve Olden's got a lap back on him.
No. No, sorry, Olden is still over a lap behind him, but...
Yeah, but was Olden not 2 laps at least behind?
I don't think so, maybe. But whatever the case, he seems to be running fine now. I'd have said, like, if he'd been running like late 140s or something, I would have said that doesn't matter because he's got over a lap's lead. You know, he can just run it to the end. 2 minutes is worrying. That's not just a spin.
That's 2 minutes 12, and the next lap was a 2 minute 2.
2 laps in a row?
Yeah, 2 laps in a row. So might have been traffic of some sort.
Do you have a replay? If you have a replay,
I'll try and find it.
He's probably been into the pits, and I don't know why that would have been. But whatever the case, Paulo Lima returns to the field and seems to be running okay. Still over a lap ahead of anyone else. Yeah, what unexpected drama, and hopefully nothing else comes of that. So we're into the final 8 minutes of the race now. We are on lap, well, the GTE runners are on lap 46. What lap's Lima on? He is on lap 50. And we should run to about lap 54 or 55 by the end of this. Just off the top of my head. So I'm switching between the cameras a bit there. Jens Roos, as the cameras start to play up again, so let's ride on board with Roos instead. Trying to stick with Middleton, but we saw what happened with Middleton before. When he gets clean air, he just peels off. However, I was wondering whether he wouldn't this time due to his flat-spotted tyres. Remember, he's had a spin on this set. But no, it seems that Middleton is getting away a bit here from Jens Roos. Is the camera going to behave itself? Seems to be.
Lima just went to pits and did something. Changed something, maybe tires, a little bit of fuel, not sure.
Weird. Well, continues to run, makes his way past Chen. Here's Andrew Deppy, running 18th place overall at the minute and last of the runners. But, of course, it's all about finishing in an endurance race. That's why it's called endurance. And the point system is set up so that if you finish the race, you still get a very decent haul of points. It's very much like IndyCar in that way. So good to see all the drivers that are still running, with Andre Dappy running his Porsche in 18th position. On his own as of yet, no one really around him. But you see Karel Graf there in the background, about a quarter of a lap back actually. It's always nice when you get clean air like this, and you know you don't have to worry about anyone lapping you or about lapping anyone for a decent while. You know, you can just get on with your own race and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's better though, like having someone in front of you, obviously not right in front of you, but in the distance, so you've got a goal to try and catch up to them. I think if you're just on your own for a lot of the race, it feels just like a hot lapping session in general, which isn't as fun, I believe.
I agree, and I'd love to give that a go. I'd love to do a race one time in a faster class car. Trouble is, prototypes don't suit me, but yeah, I'd love to give that a go. So you can just see the cars coming, and you can, you know, that's my next victim. That's my next victim. Yeah, it's probably
like, given how good the GTE class has been today, like it looks really damn fun to drive in. Given the size of the class and how close a lot of the drivers are, especially the top 3 or 4. Is that a spinner up ahead? I saw tire smoke. But yeah, the GTE class today has been absolutely amazing.
Absolutely it has. And as I said, like, a lot of people were wanting more GTE action. We have certainly got that today in the best possible way. It's been utterly brilliant. And yeah, it was fantastic to see 3 different cars leading that class in the last 20 minutes. We had Jens Roos, Carl Middleton and Karel Graf all fighting for it. And with 4 minutes to go, I don't think they're going to come together again, but you know, you can never count anything out. John Vannegees has been slowly catching Eric Moine, but not quick enough. He's got 4 minutes to catch up to the back of them. I don't think it's going to happen, but whatever the case, Vannegees will still maintain the championship lead as it stands. As Moine actually, well, Moine's third in the championship and has made every round, but really struggled at Watkins Glen, if I remember correctly.
I think Vandergeest needs Moine to get in traffic, but looking ahead of Moine, there's absolutely, it's just a completely clear track. So Monet, if he doesn't make a mistake, has this race in the bag. An overall podium, which is interesting. Just shows how chaotic this race has been.
Oh, it really does when an LMP3 car can get an overall podium. I was wondering earlier on, I was wondering if we were going to end up with a GTE car on the overall podium, especially when I saw Graf running in 4th place, but it seems that that's not going to be the case, which is, you know, fair enough. That means that at least not all of our prototypes have been disintegrated, and with 3 minutes to go in this race, unfortunately only 2 LMP2 runners still lapping the circuit, and not on the same lap. It's not been a great race in the LMP2 field. It was at the start, but that didn't last long. Really. And LMP3's been a little bit redundant as well ever since Tony Talviti had his issues, which means that really this race has been all about GTE, and I've been thrilled by that class and the entertainment they have provided us.
Yep, definitely. I think Lima up ahead in the LMP2 class got a little bit bored of leading, so he pitted 4 or 5 laps ago, and his pace since then has been obviously quite insane. Yeah, low 35s, which he's doing low, or he's doing 38s, 39, so 3 seconds a lap faster at the end of this race.
Yeah, maybe it was just a 2-stop strategy, or maybe he didn't fuel his car enough.
I think he might just be going for fastest lap, to be honest, out of boredom.
Quite possibly, yeah, because he's got nothing to fear. You know, he's over a lap ahead of his main rival, so he's got absolutely nothing to fear. And with just less than, well, pretty much 1 lap to go after this one, why not, I suppose? Meanwhile, Carl Middleton's about to lap Michal Majerek. That's got to hurt for the Corvette driver. Through goes Carl. Majerek drops back. Now, are we on the final lap, or are we going to get one more after this one? We are on the final lap. So Paulo Lima is leading us down the Mistral for the final time. It's been an utterly dominant display for the banana-coloured Oreca 07. And he really hasn't been, you know, he hasn't had anyone contesting him today. Did have to fight for it at the start of the race, only qualified in 2nd position, if I remember correctly. But then, of course, and did have a fight for the lead. But then, of course, when his main rivals wiped out, it's just been Lima all the way. As I said earlier, follow the Lima, but doesn't work when I say the joke twice. Lapping GTE cars as he goes. Just 2 more corners now for Paulo Lima, and well, he hasn't put a foot wrong that we've seen. Paulo Lima out to the final corner, wins the race by a magnificent margin of over a lap. Fantastic. Across the line, 55 laps of racing are done. Paulo Lima wins. Let's go back to our other classes now. Now, who's going to finish first out of... I think it's going to be GTE. So, Cahill Graf coming through the final couple of corners as well. And look at Pavlov. Pavlov's caught right up to the back of him. And one more lap, and we may well have had Pavlov going for 5th overall. But Cahill Graf just holds 5th overall in a GTE car. Utterly incredible. Fantastic race from Cahill Graf. Utterly deserved win. And then we have Carl Middleton, 2nd in GTE. Ignore Majerek, I'm afraid. He's a lap down. Jens Roos is going to claim 3rd in GTE. Now let's look up to the leading LMP3 car. It's going to be Eric Moine claiming his first win of the season. In fact, all 3... No, ignore me, Cahill Graf's won before, but both of our prototype winners hadn't won before in the season. Eric Moine coming out to the final corner is going to claim a well-deserved LMP3 victory. He wasn't the quickest LMP3 car, but didn't get involved in incidents like Talviti unfortunately did. Moine wins the LMP3 class. Van der Geest is 2nd. Pavlov is 3rd. Now, are we still waiting for finishers? I think I'm going to minimize the screen just so I can see who we're waiting for. Steve Alden is going to be 2nd in the LMP2 field. You know, may not have been the quickest LMP2 car, but at least he finished. And as I keep saying, that is the spirit of endurance. Across the line, Steve Alden, 2nd place in LMP2. Well done to him. Andrew Williams is going to finish in the GTE field. Johnny Gutierrez also finishing. And that means the order at the end of this race. Let's take a look at all of the cars. Paulo Lima wins, followed by Steve Olden. Then we have our LMP3 leader, Eric Moine. John Van der Geest, second place in LMP3. Our GTE winner is Cahill Graf. Then it's Vladislav Pavlov, third in LMP3. The driver with a lot of L's and even more V's. Carl Middleton, second in GTE. Jens Roos, third in GTE. Then it's Jerry Chen, Zach Bremner, Andrew Williams, Ollie Bateson, the unfortunate Michal Mazurek, the unfortunate Tony Talviti, Nigel Middleton, Neil Tasker, Johnny Gutierrez, Andre Depi, and then the retirements who are Roberto Bali, Tanner Selvi, Stefano Zander, Norman Bruce. I should point out, actually, Roberto Bali is technically third in LMP2. Norman Bruce, and then Denis Pimenov, who unfortunately didn't last to the end of lap 3. So that is the whole race. 18 finishes from 23 starters. And after 90 minutes of racing, it's all over. Wow. Max Shepard, time to breathe, I suppose.
Yeah, that got a little bit heated in the end. Really good race at the start. Got a little bit dull in the middle as drivers started to pit, but near the end, I think drivers with the red mist descending got so heated. A lot of crashes, a lot of incidents, and it just mixed up the order quite a bit. GT class, probably my favourite class of the day, obviously being the biggest class. A lot of fighting in the front. Yeah, pretty damn good race in general.
Absolutely was. It was a really, really entertaining race. I must say it was a disappointment in the prototype categories. I didn't like seeing the leaders getting taken out and just people gradually dropping out. But whatever the case, GTE absolutely made up for it. What a race that was. Joining us next time out, we will be at, let me have a look at the championship, I believe, Road Atlanta, and it's going to be our longest race at 144 minutes. That is over 2 hours worth of racing from Road Atlanta. That's going to be cracking. And, well, if the attrition rate we saw today is anything like what it's going to be next time, there's going to be no one left. But whatever the case, yeah, Road Atlanta next time out in 2 weeks' time, Sunday the 5th of May, and then we will join you in 2 weeks after that for the Autopolis Endurance round and the championship finale. So next time out, actually, will quite possibly be a title decider in all of those classes. Definitely, I would not want to miss any of them. So from me, Caitlin Penny, and my co-commentator, Max Shepard, thank you very much for joining us here today from SimRacing Online, Multiclass Endurance, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Good night!